Okay, I'm going to work on this cow's face for a while, and we're going to call this part 3. And then I still plan today to produce a part 4 where we start with the greens. And we should finish this project next week. Okay, so what I have here is I have a dark brown coverage. And remember, I have outlined the eyes underneath here, although you can't even see that one on that side yet. So I don't want to get carried away with too much detail here, but that's not quite enough. So I've got a Sharpie here. Don't use a gel pen. I used a gel pen on one of them, thinking that once the gel pen was really dry, it wouldn't bleed anymore. And lo and behold, I was wrong. So I'm putting a little bit of detail in here, pretty dark. Okay, right there, I think. You know, I don't know if I shaped that chin quite right. Oh well, I'll stick with that. And then I think we can do a little bit more here on the nostrils. Something like that. Okay. Make that one eye darker that I can see. So my plan on this is to actually do quite a lot of lifting. And even as I'm saying that, I want to caution you that lifting is not generally the answer, but I think it's going to work really well here. So I've got several brushes I could use for lifting. Here's an angle brush, angle shader that I actually have not trimmed. And normally I wouldn't consider this useful for lifting, but in the case of burnt umber that's on pretty heavily here, this may be just the right thing, because we don't want something much stiffer than just our regular black velvet. So I'm looking at this lighter area here. See, right along here. And I've got a very wet brush. And there is a shape coming along here. And a lot of the time I can just wet this down and get something a lot lighter. I decided I needed a little bit of rubbing here. And I'm going to come all the way down the edge here. Okay, let's blot that. Oh, okay, see, you got a very, very gentle lift. Now, that's not going to be enough lift. So, now I have one of the brushes that's been cut off and it's stiffer. So let's see if we can maybe lift just a little bit more, but I'm being very gentle with this. And one of the things that I want to mention that goes along with gentle, that goes along with gentle is a brush like this. You don't just scrub it into the paper. You mostly like pull sideways or pull back this way. So because the bristles are stiff enough, you don't want to jab them into the paper, because that really roughs the paper up, and sometimes your paint will actually get scrubbed on down into the paper instead of lifting off. So I am looking and I'm seeing right here there is a highlighted area, and around the eyes it's not as light as this outside edge here. In fact, that could be a little bit lighter yet. Let's do a little more there. Again, very gently. And blot. Okay. If I want to keep it extra soft, then maybe I don't blot. So right here under the cow's eye is a light spot. Right there under the eye. And then it kind of comes, there's a little bit of lightness that kind of comes down this way. I want to keep that real gentle. The only place I want to be extra light is right there. Well, see, I might decide later to come back and put a little bit of tone in that because that is so light. We'll see. So above the eye, you see that light area? So a lot of people wanted to leave those areas really, really light. And I thought that looked too artificial. I would much rather do it like this. And this area out in here should be a little bit lighter. Let's blot that and see what we've got. Oh, shoot. We've got a lot there. Again, I may have to come back and actually add color. This mix had a little indigo in it, and so I wasn't sure how easily it would lift. The more indigo you've got, the slightly more stubborn it might be about lifting. Okay, that's enough of that for the moment. We're probably going to have to add a little color back into that later, which is another reason for working softly with it. Now we're going to be real soft right here, but it's very hard to see here, and so you would think it wouldn't be important, but there is a slightly lighter area right there above the nose, and that's where the skull, curves out towards this area, that they are connected rather than it looks kind of cut off. And so even though it's very, very minor, I'll feel better about it if I pull up a little bit of lightness right here. And I'm stroking up the direction of going up the skull. I don't know what to call it. Okay, that's pretty nice. Maybe just a little bit there. You can see how much you can do this way. Now the thing is that I planned ahead on this. This is why this is so much burnt umber. So you can see how it depends on the pigment that you use, and some of the individual characteristics of a pigment could have a lot to do with how it's going to work for you. So you, at some point in time, you need to kind of become aware of the characteristics of your pigments. I'm going to just connect that little edge there. It just looked like it just bumped out and went to nowhere. Okay. So let's work on the other side. Well, the other side's a lot harder because I can't even see where it is anymore. Maybe I see a little something right there. So I need to look at where the side of the head comes off the nose, right down here. Just do a little something there and see how it looks. I don't want to get that as light as this side. So if I do, I'll have to come back on it. I think I'll lighten over this eye area. And I'm probably going to see my mark where my eye is once I lighten this some. We've got to uncover it. There it is right there. It would be a real good thing to dry this and make that darker. I'll come back to that in a minute. So here's an area under the ear that's a little bit lighter. And again, I don't want to make this very strong at all. I might just do little bits. Or the thing is, it's really not important, and I really don't have to do anything at all there. Okay, that may be more than I want. So while I'm waiting for this to dry, rather than go to the dryer, let's just work on this nose a little more. So I think I need a little more. Wait. I have another area. See all the red in this ear because the light's coming through here and behind this ear? Well, I have to get rid of some of the brown in order to have a place for the red. So I'm going to use this brush again. Let's just see how much of this will lift. Let's take up just a tiny bit more. Okay. So Now we'll just wash in a little bit of, oops, I don't have it out yet. A little bit of Queen Coral. Seems like I use Queen Coral for everything these days. It's probably my coral phase. Okay, let's put a little in here. And you know, it doesn't hurt that that's wet already. In fact, it just makes it a little easier. Yeah, I kind of like that there. So the thing is, we could probably use a little bit more reds in this area. I'm going to darken that a lot more. So even though this looks maybe a little too red, let's get in the nostrils too. Even though this looks a little too red right now, by the time we get the other color in, it won't be. So I'll just soften some edges on that. Just be careful there. There, that's about right. Okay. What else can I do here? Well, I guess I better dry this. Here we go now. Okay. So maybe we'll do a little more detail around this other eye. There's a little bit of a light spot above the eye. Remember, this has got water on it. There's a little bit of a light spot above the eye. I'm being very, very gentle. Again, I don't want a whole lot of this to come up, and this is burnt umber, so it comes up very easily. Anytime you're lifting, you kind of need to test and see how it's going to act. Don't just dive in scrubbing right off. It can really surprise you if you do. Let's see, there's a highlight here under this ear because there's some light catching this fringe right out here on the edge of the ear. That'll be a nice look to have that spot. That's a little thick, so what I'll have to do is paint back into that in a little bit. Here's the side of the head. Right there. I'll put a mark there. Okay. Just barely, just barely. Now that's enough. That's really enough, I think. I don't think that our cow needs... We don't have to put a ton of detail in our cow. I may be putting more in there than you want to do. And I want you to do what suits you. I'm just showing you how you could if you wanted to. You can have a very successful painting without doing this. That's why I'm basically making 2 videos today. That little space there is too big. Okay, I kind of like that. What I was going to do a while ago when this was dry and I forgot about, let's see if it works. If it doesn't, then don't do this. I needed to darken this eye just a little bit, pulling the tear duct down this way too. This eye looks so much higher than that one, but you know what it is? This cow's head appears to be a little bit crooked. It may just be the way it's tilted, but I've got one eye that's higher than the other. So, I guess she can too. I may just fill in the darker part with this black pen. I mean, why not? This is so dark in here that you could use your Sharpie if you wanted. Just remember that whatever you do with your Sharpie is pretty much not going to go away. Yeah. Why not? That spot right there didn't blend very well, did it? So let's go back and let's add a little more shape to the nose. If you look at this one, you can see, can you see the triangle? Let's see, is this on here? Can you see that this has like a little triangle right there of dark? And then, of course, the chin is very dark. And the triangle has a little extension coming right up down the middle of the nose. Let's see what we can do about that. And I want more highlight right here. Okay. This isn't cooperating very well. Oh, there it goes. Okay. And right here. There might be a little something. Okay, that's better. Now, what that goes with is that this side shouldn't be quite as light as that side. So if I take a tiny, tiny glaze of burnt umber and just knock it back the tiniest bit there, that'll probably be enough. Now, I want to make that, I already did this little spot down the center. I want to make it a little stronger. I'm going to use black. Actually, what I've got out here in my palette is that granulating stuff, that hematite. It's just what I have handy. But something kind of blackish. And there's more shadow here in the mouth. And this side right under here is a little darker. Okay, so let's if you're blending with a round brush, you need to squeeze the whole body out like that, but leave the tip alone. Let's see what that does. And then you're always testing it first to see what results you're getting. Once you get used to this, you realize you're always testing a little bit. Maybe you won't have to test as much, but there is that element that's that little bit of feedback from the paint that's always in there. It's just like dancing with a partner. So let's make this shadow in here a little darker. There. That's a pretty nice face. See if I'm going to get a little pickier about this. I really should have a little bit of a light spot right there. Oops, I got too much. I'll tell you what, let's squeeze the brush out. Let's, instead of blotting, let's pull. So that's a little bit lighter than I wanted. So I'll just take the tiniest bit of burnt umber and put back on top of it. I have neighbors arguing outside. Okay, now let's put just a little bit more shadow. By the way, see, this is what's so great about these. You can have a deep wash in here, but your leftovers, when they dry, your leftovers can let you pick up the tiniest, let's see, I want a real light spot. I'll just pick up from right there with just the tip of my brush. Let's see what I get here. Okay. I want to be careful this doesn't get too dark because I don't want it to look like a piggy nose. you know, like one of those cartoon piggy noses. I think when that's dry that's going to be about right. Let's put in a little more dark here. But I love it when I'm doing small detail to have this kind of thing going on where I can just pick up exactly the value of paint or color. Like this is so great because this has got multiple shades of green in it. See all those different greens in there? So I could pick up just the green that I want in just some tiny amount if I want it. I love that stuff. Okay, I was going to make that just a little bit darker. I think I really have her nose a little bit crooked. Oh well, it goes with the crooked eye, right? All right. So that's a cow's face, and we're going to call this part 1. No, we're going to call this part 3, and then I'm going to have a longer, well, I don't know, I'm going to have another part 4 this evening. So I'm going to put this on right now. Oh, let's do this thing so you can see her pretty face. So it's kind of fun, those parts where you're just tweaking stuff. It's kind of fun. You know, she could use a little bit more red in her horns. Oh, let's do that. And once I start tweaking, sometimes I can't stop. So it's hard to get me started. I always put off doing these videos, but it's hard to get me to stop too. I'll lift it a little bit there, and now I'm going to pick up a little tiny bit of my Queen Coral. But it's very, very juicy. I want it to run. We'll see how that looks later. And we'll do the same thing over here. So I don't really keep this as a lifting brush. I keep this for spreading for spreading masking. But it can occasionally come in handy for a very gentle lift that's just a little bit stronger than if you used your black velvet. There we go. Okay. And she's still got masking on the top of her head and on the top of her horns. So there she is. That's part 3.